There's a deception so convincing that 99% of humanity lives completely fooled by it. This illusion is responsible for all the anxiety, all the depression, all the unnecessary suffering you've ever known. Eckhart Tolle spent years in intense suffering until he discovered what this illusion was, and when he finally saw it with absolute clarity, all psychological suffering simply disappeared. This illusion is so subtle, you don't even realize you're being tricked. So automatic, it seems natural, so universal, that everyone around you believes in it too. But when you finally recognize this illusion for what it is, a complete fabrication, you instantly break free from decades of mental conditioning. You are experiencing this illusion right now as you listen. It's operating in the background of your consciousness, creating a subtle feeling that something is always missing, always wrong, always needing to be fixed, as if you were a problem that needs solving, instead of a perfect consciousness temporarily forgetting itself. But what if I told you that everything you believe about time, identity, and reality is an elaborate illusion created by the human mind? That there's a completely different way to experience life that eliminates suffering at its root, that you can wake up from this illusion today and never again suffer unnecessarily. Steve Jobs intuited this illusion. That's why he could create revolutionary products. He wasn't trapped by the conventional limitations the illusion imposes. Einstein knew aspects of it. That's why he could see beyond appearances and discover fundamental laws of the universe. Millions around the world are waking up from this illusion through Tolle's teachings. But most people don't even suspect they're living in an illusion. They think suffering is natural, inevitable, part of the human condition. They don't realize they're trapped in a mental matrix, keeping them separated from the peace that is their original nature. Today, you will discover exactly what this illusion is. More importantly, you will learn how to wake up from it permanently. But before I reveal what the illusion is, I need to show you how it operates in your daily life, because recognizing its symptoms is the first step to liberation. The illusion manifests in ways you consider completely normal. You live with a constant feeling of incompleteness, as if something is always missing for you to be happy. When I get that job, then I'll be fulfilled. When I find the right person, then I'll feel complete. When I solve my financial problems, then I'll have peace. You carry an invisible weight of always needing to be somewhere different from where you are, always needing to be someone different from who you are, always needing to have something different from what you have. This is the illusion at work, creating a psychological prison where you are never at ease where you are. You live internally divided, part of you wanting to control everything, part resisting what's happening, part judging your experiences as good or bad, part always comparing your life to an imaginary ideal of how things should be. You identify with the mental voice that never stops commenting, judging, worrying, planning. You think this voice is you. When it says, "I'm a failure," you suffer. When it creates catastrophic scenarios about the future, you become anxious. You've become a slave to your own thoughts. Without realizing it, you live in psychological time, always in the past lamenting, or in the future worrying, rarely in the present, where life actually happens, and in the present, where there is no real problem. The illusion cannot survive. Do you recognize some of these patterns? They seem so normal. You don't even question them. But Tolle discovered that these are all symptoms of the same fundamental illusion. An illusion that keeps you separated from the peace, the love, and the fullness that are your true nature. Tolle's most shocking discovery was this: suffering isn't caused by the circumstances of your life. It's caused by your relationship with those circumstances, and that relationship is determined completely by the illusion you believe in. Two people can go through the same difficult situation, job loss, relationship breakup, health problem, and have completely different experiences. One suffers intensely, the other finds peace, and even growth in the situation. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in the illusion. But what exactly is this illusion that controls your experience of life? The illusion is this: you believe you are a separate entity, living in a fragmented world, in linear time, needing to achieve something to be happy. Let that sink in for a moment. Your entire life experience is filtered through this fundamental belief. You see yourself as a separate person with a personal history, facing a potentially hostile world, needing to struggle to achieve security, love, fulfillment. But Tolle discovered that this is a complete illusion. You're not a separate entity. You are unified consciousness, temporarily experiencing the form of a person. The world is not fragmented. It's a unified expression of the same consciousness. That you are linear time is a mental construct. Only this eternal moment exists. And you don't need to achieve anything to be happy, because happiness is your essential nature. The illusion of separation is the root of all suffering. When you see yourself as separate, you automatically go into survival mode. You need to defend yourself, compete, accumulate, control. You live in a constant state of alert, as if you were always in danger, but you were never truly separate. This separation exists only in the conditioned mind. In reality, you are a wave in the ocean of consciousness, temporarily distinct, but never truly separated from the whole. Steve Jobs accessed this understanding intuitively. That's why he could see connections others didn't see, create products that unified technology and art, inspire teams to transcend apparent limitations. He operated from a unified perception, not the illusion of separation. The illusion of linear time keeps you trapped in cycles of anxiety and regret. You project problems into the future that don't exist now. You carry guilt from the past that cannot be changed. You always live somewhere that isn't here, at some time that isn't now, but psychological time is an illusion. Einstein proved it scientifically. Time is relative, not absolute. Tolle discovered it experientially. Only this eternal moment exists, with no beginning or end. Past and future are mental constructs that exist only now, as memories and projections. When you live from the now, you access an intelligence that doesn't depend on time to function, a wisdom that knows without needing to think, a peace that needs no reasons to exist. The illusion of incompleteness keeps you in constant pursuit, always chasing the next achievement, the next relationship, the next experience that will finally complete you. But this search is based on the false premise that you are incomplete. The truth is, you are already complete. You are full consciousness temporarily, experiencing apparent limitations, like an actor who forgets they're playing a role and starts to believe they really are the character. Oprah Winfrey discovered this during a deep crisis in her career. She realized she was seeking completeness through external success, but the feeling of emptiness persisted. When she finally recognized that she was already complete by nature, her life transformed from a desperate search into creative expression. But there's something even deeper about this illusion, something that explains why it's so convincing and why it's so difficult to see. The illusion is self-perpetuating. The more you believe in it, the more evidence it creates to validate itself. If you believe you are separate, you interpret events as confirmation of separation. If you believe you need to fight to survive, you create conflict situations. If you believe you are incomplete, you project that incompleteness onto all experiences. It's like wearing colored glasses. If you wear red glasses, everything looks red. And if you forget you're wearing glasses, you start to believe the world really is red. The illusion becomes your perceived reality. Eckhart Tolle realized that the human mind evolved to ensure physical survival, not to reveal spiritual truth. That's why it created this illusion of separation, to keep the organism alert to threats. But what was useful for primitive survival has become a psychological prison in the modern age. The mind interprets everything through the filter of separation. It divides experience into me and other, good and bad, past and future, problem and solution. But these divisions don't exist in reality. They only exist in conditioned perception. It's like watching a movie and forgetting. You're watching, you identify with the character, suffer with their dramas, cheer for their victories, but nothing that happens on the screen can really affect you. You are always safe in the cinema seat of consciousness. The illusion is reinforced by society. From childhood, you're taught to identify with labels: your name, your family, your nationality, your profession. You're encouraged to compete, compare, judge. You're conditioned to seek happiness in external objects, people, experiences. The entire social structure is based on the illusion of separation. Economics, politics, education, entertainment, everything operates from the premise that you are a separate entity competing with other separate entities for limited resources. But this is only one possible way to organize the human experience. It's not the only one, and it's certainly not the wisest or most compassionate. Ancient civilizations knew ways of living based on the perception of unity. They created art, architecture, social systems that reflected the understanding that all existence is an expression of the same fundamental consciousness. And there are signs that humanity is beginning to awaken from this illusion again. Quantum physics is discovering that separation is illusory. Neuroscience is revealing that the self is a mental construct. Transpersonal psychology is mapping states of consciousness beyond egoic identification. You are part of this wave of awakening. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here listening about the illusion that keeps most people trapped. Something in you already knows that there is a freer, more peaceful, more loving way to experience life. But knowing intellectually about the illusion isn't enough. You need to see it in action in your own experience. You need to catch the illusion red-handed, creating suffering where there is no real need to suffer. The most direct way to see the illusion in action is to observe how it operates in everyday suffering. I'm going to show you 3 practical examples where you can catch the illusion creating drama where there is no real problem. Example 1. The illusion of the need for approval. You're in a meeting and you propose an idea. Someone criticizes your suggestion. Immediately, a wave of discomfort arises, perhaps anger or sadness. Your mind starts, "He doesn't respect me. Everyone thinks I'm incompetent. I should never have spoken." But stop. What really happened? Someone expressed an opinion different from yours. That's all. There was no real attack on your existence. There was no threat to your survival. There was no diminishment of your essential nature. The suffering comes entirely from the illusion. You identify as a separate person who needs approval to feel valuable. But you are not a separate person. You are infinite consciousness temporarily experiencing a human form. And infinite consciousness doesn't need approval to know its value. When you see this clearly, the criticism doesn't affect you. Not because you become insensitive, but because you recognize that your essence cannot be touched by temporary opinions. Example 2. The illusion of psychological time. You have an important presentation next week. Your mind starts creating scenarios. What if I forget what to say? What if they ask questions I can't answer? What if it's a total disaster? You lose sleep, become tense. Your quality of life diminishes. But observe, you are suffering for something that is not happening. The presentation is not now. The problems your mind imagines do not exist in the present. You are being tortured by future fantasies that will probably never materialize. The illusion of psychological time has taken you out of the present, where you are safe, where you have resources, where you can act intelligently, and transported you to an imaginary future where you're a victim of circumstances that don't even exist. Eckhart Tolle teaches a simple technique. When the mind creates problematic future scenarios, ask, "Can I deal with this now?" The answer is always no, because this is not happening now. Then return your attention to what you can do in this moment. Example 3. The illusion of a fixed identity. You make a mistake at work. Immediately your mind says, "I always mess things up. I'm a failure. I'll never succeed." You identify with the mistake as if it permanently defines who you are. But this is illusion. You are not your mistakes. You are not your achievements. You are not any temporary story your mind tells about you. You are the eternal consciousness in which all these stories appear and disappear. A mistake is simply an action that didn't have the desired result. It's neutral information that can be used to learn and adjust, but the illusion transforms this neutral information into a problematic identity. Einstein failed math as a child. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he created. Oprah endured childhood abuse and faced racial discrimination, but they didn't define themselves by these temporary experiences. They recognized intuitively that they were far greater than any fleeting circumstance. Now that you see how the illusion operates, I'm going to teach you how to awaken from it permanently. The first step, recognizing the illusion in real time. Whenever you feel disturbed by anything, immediately ask, "Where is the illusion here?" You don't try to solve the problem. Don't try to change the situation. First, find the illusion that's creating the suffering. Am I seeing myself as separate from life instead of as an expression of it? Am I living in psychological time instead of the present? Am I identifying with mental content instead of recognizing that I am the conscious space where the content appears? Jim Carrey says this practice liberated him from deep depression. He became obsessed with finding the illusion behind every suffering, and he discovered that always, without exception, there was a false belief operating beneath the pain. The second step, questioning the reality of the illusion. When you identify the illusion, investigate it like a scientist. Is this separation I'm feeling real? Can I find where I end and the world begins? Does this future I'm worrying about actually exist? Or is it just thought happening now? Byron Katie developed a simple yet powerful method. Is this true? Can I know with absolute certainty that this is true? How do I feel when I believe this thought? Who would I be without this thought? Eckhart Tolle uses an even more direct approach. Observe the thought that's creating suffering. Now ask, who is aware of this thought? Rest in that. Which is aware? That is you. That never suffers. The third step, experiencing the reality beyond the illusion. After questioning the illusion, don't get stuck in intellectual emptiness. Actively connect with the reality that lies beyond it. Feel your unity with life. Experience the eternal present. Recognize your inherent completeness. A powerful technique. Feel the air you breathe. The same air entering you has been in billions of other beings. You are literally sharing life with all of existence, with every breath. Separation is impossible at a fundamental level. Another technique, observe that you are the space where all experiences happen. Thoughts arise in you, emotions move through you, sensations appear in you. You are like the sky. The clouds change, but the sky remains unchanged. The neurological transformation. When you practice seeing through the illusion consistently, fascinating changes happen in your brain. Studies show that experienced meditators have greater activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area associated with wisdom and broad perspective, and less activity in the amygdala, the center of fear and reactivity. More interestingly, they develop greater connectivity between brain hemispheres, suggesting a more unified integration of experience. It's as if the brain physically reflects the perception of unity that emerges when the illusion of separation dissolves. Dr. Judson Brewer, a Harvard neuroscientist, found that people who have transcended egoic identification show brain patterns similar to those of young children, more integrated, less divided, naturally present. The stages of awakening. Eckhart Tolle identifies typical stages in the process of awakening from the illusion. Stage 1. Glimpse. You have spontaneous moments where the illusion temporarily disappears. It might be in nature during exercise, in moments of beauty or crisis. You experience deep peace, unity, presence, but then you return to the previous state. Stage 2. Practice. You begin to intentionally cultivate states beyond the illusion. Meditation, conscious presence, questioning thoughts. You develop the ability to access peace and clarity when needed, but you still oscillate between states. Stage 3. Stabilization. Presence becomes your basic state, with occasional oscillations to egoic identification. You dwell in reality and visit the illusion instead of the other way around. Mental drama loses intensity and duration. Stage 4. Transparency. The illusion becomes completely transparent. You can see through it instantly. Psychological suffering becomes impossible because you never identify with problematic mental content. You live as consciousness playing at being human. Common resistances. Your mind will resist awakening from the illusion because it exists through that illusion. It will use various strategies to keep you trapped. This is escapism. You have real responsibilities. But awakening is not escaping life. It's engaging with it more intelligently and compassionately. If you don't worry, terrible things will happen. But worry has never prevented anything. Conscious action from presence is infinitely more effective than anxious reaction from fear. You'll become passive and lazy. But the greatest achievers in history operated from states beyond egoic illusion. Inspired action is more powerful than effort based on fear. This is too simple to be true. The mind loves complexity because it can hide in it. Truth is always simple, even when it's not easy to live. Life beyond the illusion. When you permanently awaken from the illusion, your life transforms in ways you can't imagine while trapped in it. Relationships become expressions of love instead of attempts to get love. You stop trying to change people to feel better and start loving them as they are. Work becomes creative expression instead of painful obligation. You stop working to escape insecurity and start working to contribute to the whole. Challenges become opportunities for growth instead of problems to be avoided. You stop resisting life and start dancing with it. You develop what Eckhart Tolle calls radical acceptance, not passivity, but total alignment with what is, allowing intelligent solutions to emerge naturally. Your presence becomes a gift to others. People feel calmer, safer, more themselves when they are with you. Because you've stopped projecting your illusions onto them, you access unlimited creativity because you're no longer restricted by the limitations of the conditioned mind. Ideas flow naturally when you don't force and allow universal intelligence to work through you. The final invitation. The illusion that makes you suffer is powerful, but it is not real. It's like a compelling 3D movie. It seems absolutely real when you're wearing the glasses, but it's just projected light when you take them off. You have the power to remove the glasses of the illusion right now. It's not a long, arduous journey. It's an instantaneous recognition of what has always been true. You are not a separate, flawed, incomplete person. You are unified consciousness, perfect, eternal, temporarily forgetting itself. Every time you suffer unnecessarily, remember. This is the illusion operating. Where's the false belief? Who am I really underneath this temporary story? And then return to what you always were. Pure presence, unconditional love, causeless peace, not because you conquered something, but because you stopped believing there was something to conquer. The biggest delusion that makes you suffer is believing you're not already free, already complete, already home. When you see through this illusion, you discover you've always been exactly where you needed to be, at the heart of existence, as a unique expression of infinite consciousness playing at being you. If this revelation stirred something real in you, share it with someone still suffering unnecessarily, within the illusion, because shared awakening is multiplied awakening. And a more conscious world is born through individuals who stop believing in the illusions that create suffering. The truth is simple. You were never what you thought you were. You were always far more free, far more loving, far more peaceful than any illusion could ever suggest. Stop looking for it outside. Recognize it now. Live it today.